Revenge films.
On that day, I accompanied my older brother to a certain wedding. The groom was his best friend, named Maxwell. The bride was a woman named Kendra. I actually know Maxwell personally since college, and I often spoke with him, even though there was a margin of age. They're such close friends, and my own friendship with him has made me feel like he's my second brother. My true older brother, Steven, has old injury residue on his left leg. His whole leg was in a cast for 4 whole months because of a head-on collision with a telephone pole on his bicycle in high school. Although he has no trouble walking, he does have a slight limp. But I never paid any heed to that. I was used to it by then. After arriving at the wedding hall, we were walking to our seats together when a woman strode somewhat angrily towards us. I immediately recognized Kendra, the bride.
Hey, who the hell are you?
Who, me?
Yes, you. Come with me, and don't you dare dawdle.
She led us to a small, secluded area of the building where she suddenly started to brutally insult Steven. Apparently, she'd noticed his unusual stride and decided to do something about it.
I don't recollect inviting any person like you here. What's with that stupid walk? I can't accept such miserable behavior.
Hey, watch yourself! My brother received an invitation from Maxwell, and that's why he's here. See?
Huh? Maxwell did? Nonsense! I can't believe he'd invite this cripple! Listen, today is my one day of glory, and if there are vegetables like you around, the splendor will surely be ruined.
Who the hell does this bitch think she is? It's amazing a Karen like this is becoming Maxwell's wife, who's pretty much the brother Steven never had. I was struck with shock and disappointment, but then...
I must tell you to leave. I'll just take your wedding gift. Oh, and I don't take anything other than cold, hard cash, okay? Come on now, cough it up already. Don't tell me you didn't bring anything, even though it's a goddamn wedding.
This is going too far.
It's alright, Rhea. Let's just go. Here's your present. I cannot let your splendid wedding be ruined. I hope you and Maxwell will be happy together.
Steven, mark my words. Lady, you'll regret this.
Huh? LOL me? Regret? Don't make me laugh. Nothing you can do. No one's gonna pity 2 freaks like you leaving the party. Get the hell out! I better not see your faces anywhere near me or Maxwell again.
In this manner, Kendra literally kicked us out of the banquet and forbade us from ever seeing Maxwell again. You're really okay with this? Aren't you frustrated to leave after getting insulted? You came so far just to attend, too.
You know I'm not gonna ruin my best buddy's wedding by making an unnecessary fuss, right? It's alright. I gave them my gift in any case.
Steven's always been such a kind person. That's why I couldn't forgive that bitch for what she did. He's a man with an extremely tight schedule, you see, and just to share his friend's moment of glory with him, he took a few days off work and traveled so far just to attend the wedding. But a few days later, someone truly unexpected decided to call my number.
Hey, this is Rhea Brock, right? The sister of Mr. Steven Brock?
It is. Is this Miss Kendra?
That's right. Please help me. Something terrible's going on over here. You're my only hope.
It seemed Kendra was in a very difficult situation.
Could you somehow persuade your brother to talk to Maxwell and my job, please? Darling's telling me he wants a divorce, and my boss already fired me. I'll do anything for you in return. Just please help me.
Oh, is that so? My condolences. But I don't think this has anything to do with me or my brother.
You have no idea how much it does. Your brother's the CEO of a large multinational company, is he not? I've had so many complaints from multiple CEOs of local enterprises, as well as other people who were invited, and I don't know what else to do.
To tell you the truth, Steven lives abroad and runs a large company there. That company has branches that have spread across the globe over the years, and Japan is no exception. He's busy as can be, around the clock, and what with him living abroad and such, it's hard to contact him directly. There's the problem with the international phone bill, obviously, which is expensive, and there's also time zones to consider. However, when he decided to come back home to attend the wedding of his one and only best friend, CEOs of many local companies were eagerly awaiting him to make his acquaintance. However, thanks to the bride herself kicking him out, their opportunity to meet him was shattered, and it turns out that her own company's CEO was among those who hoped to meet him. I guess you can imagine what he did next given his disappointment.
Please, I'm begging you. Help me! Save me! I'll lose my marriage and my job at this rate.
You must be joking, madam. You and you only were responsible for kicking him out. Not to mention you forbade him from ever seeing him again. I suggest cleaning up the mess you caused yourself, In any case, Mr. Brock is no longer here in Japan.
Please! I never knew your brother was such a well-respected individual, you see. I thought he was just a normal office man without anything special in his life.
So you're saying that if you did know who he is, you'd be slobbering all over him with your tail wagging, That's even worse, I must say. How dare you assume any disabled person doesn't have anything special in their life?
I apologize. I'm truly sorry. I was so in the wrong. Now, will you please give me your brother's contact information? I'll call him directly, and hopefully we can arrange something. Your brother's a kind gentleman, so perhaps he could forge a contact with my job and hopefully restore my relationship with my darling Maxwell. His best friend? His BFF?
Like hell I'm gonna give you his contact info. He's busy 24/7, and he hardly ever accepts calls from unknown numbers, you see. No one would if they had a super tight schedule like him. He only makes private calls with close friends and family, and all you are to him is a disrespectful asshole.
I'm begging you. Hey, please!
She was on her knees through the end, but I just ignored her from that point onward. A few days came and went, and then Maxwell contacted me. He told me he'd already apologized to Stephen about Kendra, and he called to apologize to me for the inconvenience. I don't know why he felt the need to apologize to me, but it goes without saying, Maxwell is a true sweetheart. His friendship with Stephen isn't something inconsequential. That overworking brother of mine sacrificed so much to attend his friend's wedding is a good example of how strong their friendship is. A month later, I heard that Maxwell had gone to see Stephen personally to return his wedding gift. At the same time, I found out that his divorce with Kendra had become official. Good riddance to that old hag. Now, you may be wondering how Maxwell even found out about this whole thing. You see, on his wedding day, Maxwell noticed Stephen had left his gift, but I was clueless as to why he never showed up at all. Turns out a clerk at the establishment knew about Kendra talking to us, or rather, insulting us, proceeding to kick us out. Eventually, Maxwell went off the rails, bonkers with fury, and quickly confronted her.
What's all this bullshit about kicking both of them out without telling me anything? How could you do that?
That bastard was literally dragging his leg on the floor, you know? We don't need freaking cripples like them at our wedding. Plus, the girl was so goddamn rude to me.
That frickin' cripple is my best friend! I trust him more than anyone else in the world, including myself!
Right after the wedding, the couple had a huge argument. Maxwell's job is affiliated with Stephen's company, and if things went smoothly, Kendra would have been living a life many wives could only dream of. People left, right, and center would turn green with jealousy at how nice and luxurious her life would be. Evidently, there was talk of her parents able to retire peacefully, but this whole incident quickly spiraled towards him divorcing her. This obviously left her desperate. And also, I'll say this again, but Kendra's own job took this opportunity to establish a business partnership with Mr. Stephen Brock, the powerful CEO of a multinational conglomerate, upon knowing that her husband is his close friend. But the bride's inexcusable rudeness shattered those expectations, and she was later fired out of spite. People present at the wedding grew disappointed with the bride, who seemed to judge books by their covers. And in the end, the banquet fees had to be settled by Kendra's family. It seems her parents became hopeless of such a daughter, and they cut ties with her. Lastly, soon after moving in to live with Maxwell in his large apartment, she was left on the curb. Now she's going from internet cafe to another in search of work. In the end, Maxwell's wedding had been ruined after all, and I felt terrible for him. But like I said, I think of him as my second older brother, so I know he can do so much better for himself. 4 years later, Stephen was invited yet again to Maxwell's wedding. His second wife, Dakota, is a kind girl who treated Stephen very well and was polite and charming. Perhaps she understood Stephen's pain and hardships because of the fact her younger brother became paralyzed from the waist down in an accident. When Stephen got Maxwell's second invitation,
I'm afraid I feel like I must decline, bro. I don't want to spoil your moment of glory again.
Yep, he wasn't too sure about going at first. But then Maxwell replied,
I can't imagine my wedding without my best bro, dude. I'm asking you to spend my moment of glory with me. Properly this time. Please, do come.
Needless to say, Stephen was thrilled. It's true he has a slight disability, but he's so lucky to have such a loyal, trustworthy friend like Maxwell. I really hope Maxwell will return the favor by attending Stephen's moment of glory in the future, should it happen. Who am I kidding? Of course it'll happen. I'm positive Stephen's going to think of that day as his single most important day yet, and he'll definitely want his bro to be there with him.
Mrs. Mackenzie, all of my dresses are missing. Do you have any idea where they may have gone?
I know exactly where they are. The landfill. I threw them away. You can't take care of me when I'm old and frail if you wear flirty clothes. There's no need for a wife to be so alluring, now is there?
What? My name is Talia Simmons. It's been 3 years since I moved in with my in-laws. It wasn't like I wanted to live with them, actually. We simply had no choice but to live together after some checkered history with our family's transactions with land and property. We wanted to have children, but conceiving a child proved to be easier said than done. Instead of a beautiful child we have yet to meet, we had a nagging, selfish mother-in-law and a quiet father-in-law who did everything she asked. She had often harassed me in the past by hiding jewelry and other things she didn't approve as her daughter-in-law, but this time was worse because I discovered that she had really thrown away all the dresses that I cared about. I was very upset, but my darling husband was even more furious than I was.
Mom, I swear, if you keep this bullshit up, I'm kicking you out of the house for good. Lest we forget, and I've told you so many times you could write an entire saga with my explanations, this land was given to us by Talia's parents. Know your place and appreciate what they've done for us.
He said everything I wanted to, and beyond. I was grateful. Nevertheless, Mrs. Mackenzie replied, It's all Talia's fault. She's getting a little too carried away with her fashion choices. When there are 2 lives, she has to think about for the future. Besides, there's no way she could take care of me in those flouncy clothes, is there? Helping me getting out of bed, getting me in a wheelchair, giving me a bath, and taking care of anything bathroom-related are just a few of the things you have to do to help us out. Wearing a long dress like that would make things too difficult. If you're going to take care of me, I need her to be able to be at my service at all times, and that means wearing normal exercise clothes is an absolute must. And beside her, Mr. Mackenzie nodded his head in agreement without saying a word, nor doing anything to stop his wife from going on with her bullshit. Just so you know, that my in-laws are literally the picture of good health. At that time, they didn't need any nursing care at all. They barely need the N in nursing for that matter.
Mom, you always talk about nursing care this, nursing care that. But it is very difficult for an amateur to provide such a thing. If you want proper care, you can ask for a professionally qualified helper when the time comes. And don't ask Talia to do it now.
Of course, if and when the time comes, I will do what I can, but as Max says, although it does depend on the level of care the person really needs, it's really difficult for an amateur to care for the elderly properly. I think leaving what is necessary to a professional is the best thing to do, so I don't think you need to worry about it now. Professional care? That would just be a huge waste of money. If I become bedridden, the only thing I have to look forward to are the meals. If you can afford to hire someone, You should rather cook delicious meals for me to enjoy during my final years of beautiful life. That's why I want Talia to do a good job of taking care of me.
Mom, listen. If an amateur takes care of a bedridden person, the life of the person who needs care may be in danger.
Oh, nonsense, LOL. Babies are bedridden, aren't they? But they'll always grow up to be admirable people. I'm sure that caring for a bedridden adult is much easier than caring for a baby because they're able to speak. I had pretty much given up at this point, and I couldn't say anything to counter her arguments, but my husband kept on trying the impossible to persuade his own selfish mother on my behalf, and after 2 hours of discussion, Mrs. Mackenzie finally promised that I won't do it again. Great. Everything was now settled. Or so it should have been. A week later, after I told her so bitterly about how hard it would be for me to have taken care of her, her old self bounced back with a vengeance. She actually decided to re-educate me so that I would not have to deal with such a situation when I really do become her caregiver. She even had a slogan, which was, "Re-education for all, for they shall fail in their mission in handling the work of caregivers to good people." She started to prod every single meal with her chopsticks, before complaining about every meal and pointing out what's wrong with the food before throwing it away in the trash can. She also went on cutting up my skirts, dresses, and blouses with scissors and threw them all away, and took the liberty to steal my engagement ring, wedding ring, and other jewelry and cosmetics, and gave them to her friends. The friends, who Mrs. Mackenzie pressured to take the rings, came to give them back to me and my husband personally. Among the jewelry were other assorted belongings of mine. We were shocked that we discovered that, along with other accessories, our engagement rings and wedding rings had been taken. They most likely thought, yeah, these are definitely engagement rings or wedding rings, and these cosmetics are for a young woman, perhaps in her 20s. I can't use any of these. We found out about my makeup and cosmetics when they were returned to me and my husband in the same manner. My clothes getting cut up with scissors was definitely unexpected. Mementos from my grandmother and presents from Max were among the items torn up and confiscated. After screwing herself over so hard multiple times, she went on to completely destroy a batch of plum alcohol that I'd made myself by spending hours and hours of toil stabbing the plums with forks, saying, "If you have time to do something stupid and mediocre like this, you should be studying on how to care for the elderly." After calming down the furious Max, who had become completely set on moving out immediately and cutting ties with the two tyrants, we decided to give them a reminder of the care they would have to need one day, in their old age. After all, she was an incorrigible person, if one attempted to persuade her with words, so giving her a physical experience could possibly do the trick in changing her mind for the better. We also decided to punish my Mr. Mackenzie, who was never once admonished her for her behavior, adhering to her every word. First, I consulted with a friend who works in the nursing care industry and arranged to borrow 2 sets of nursing care experience kits for the elderly. We decided to set the plan in motion on Max's day off work. After declaring that we should get used to the experience of caring and being cared for while the Mackenzies are still healthy, I had my in-laws put on the elderly kit, which consisted of heavyweight vests to induce lots of physical stress on the body, clouded goggles to recreate terrible vision, and earplugs which simulated near deafness. "What is all this?" I answered by saying I wanted to prepare for taking care of her in the future, to which she replied,
So you finally become motivated, huh?
As you would expect, these kits were specifically designed for younger people who were curious about what it was like to be elderly. You can imagine it being naturally difficult for actual elders to move around in these restrained suits, but even so, for the first few hours of the day, she didn't budge from her spot on the couch in the living room, ordering people around like they were personal servants.
I'm thirsty. Bring me something nice and cool to drink. I'm also hungry, so fix something delicious for me.
I granted her these wishes and brought her some salty rice crackers and cold green tea to make her thirsty. She completely devoured it all while wearing her suit. Eventually, she had to go to the bathroom and said,
Help me take off this suit. I want to go to the bathroom.
We ignored her wishes this time. As she became increasingly impatient, she started ranting and raving.
Hurry up and get this stupid stuff off of me!
But we never answered. She started to yell and moan after that, but I just smiled, offering her a diaper and said, "I'll put it on for you. Today's an exercise in caregiving after all. I have to get used to doing this too. Come on now, open up your legs." The tantrum got worse, and it was so funny. I tried my darndest not to laugh. She eventually said, "Enough, I'm going on my own." She finally got up and started to move on her own, but that didn't last long, for she fell down on the ground. She couldn't seem to get back on her feet afterwards and sat down exhausted. My father-in-law, perhaps realizing my true intentions, turned deathly pale and quickly apologized frantically, at which point I released him, and him only. Mrs. Mackenzie then tried to remove the suit herself, but Max was always nearby to put it back on her without mercy. She eventually gave up on removing the kid and went to the bathroom with Max's assistance. At the end of the day at dinner time, a normal meal was prepared for myself, Max, and Mr. Mackenzie, and before Mrs. Mackenzie was a bowl full of mushy food, designed to be food for the nursed elderly. I had put her portion into a blender and let everything mix together into a kind of porridge. Imagine steak, potatoes, and green peas with salt and pepper and gravy all blended together into a paste. That's precisely what she was expected to eat. She complained, "Today is just a rehearsal. Get rid of the stupid mush and feed me the same food that everyone else is having." To which I replied calmly, "This rehearsal is under the pretense that you're completely bedridden, Mrs. Mackenzie. If you won't go along with it, I may not be able to care for you in the future after all." To which she mumbled, Okay, I get it," and started to eat. Breakfast and lunch weren't too much of a problem, but by the end of the day, because she'd been wearing a heavyweight suit all day, her arms were so stiff that every time she would finally scoop up some food with a trembling hand with a spoon, she would drop it. After a while, I finished my meal. I gave her one bite at a time, saying, "Open your mouth, Mrs. Mackenzie." Ow. The food was still pretty hot, and she became upset at how she was almost burned, but I paid no heed to that and told her, "I'm gonna do my best in taking care of you with all my heart and soul every day, okay?" She turned really pale and didn't dare look at me. The next morning, she finally became reasonable, and along with her husband, apologized for everything they had done, so we finally took the suit off her. As compensation for confiscating a bunch of my clothes, she agreed that Max would stop providing all financial support for their living expenses for a while. Mr. Mackenzie, although it admittedly wasn't very much, also paid a little in compensation, and we decided to end the whole thing there. Mrs. Mackenzie was so frustrated, saying, "What about preparing for the future? We still gotta do some of the exercise routines and tea time." But in response, I simply asked her, "Do you really want me to take care of you in the future still, Mrs. Mackenzie?" Her complaining abruptly ceased, and now my in-laws are thinking about moving into an apartment with nursing care facilities for their retirement. A new condominium with nursing care services had just recently opened in the neighborhood, and we are planning to visit the model room together. Hopefully their concerns for the future will blow away with this alternative approach to giving them a good life of retirement.
My name is Alan. I haven't been feeling well these days, and when I went to the hospital, the doctor told me that I needed to be hospitalized. I've been really busy with work and hadn't been able to take good care of myself recently. I told my wife about being hospitalized and what I needed to do in preparation for it.
I see. I understand.
My wife was pretty cavalier about it, and I was caught off guard because I thought she would want to be concerned about my health. I was getting ready for my stay at the hospital, which was scheduled for the following week. The day before I was due to be hospitalized, my wife had packed up her things and was getting ready to go somewhere. When I asked her where she was going, she answered in a matter-of-fact manner.
I'm going on an overseas trip with some friends from tomorrow.
What? Why now? I'm gonna be staying in the hospital from tomorrow. I thought that my wife was crazy for scheduling an overseas trip at the same time as my hospitalization. But she didn't seem to care what I thought because she was also packing her passport. Don't you care about me at all? I'm going to be hospitalized.
I'm not going to be of any use to you, so I might as well enjoy the time that you're away from home.
I couldn't believe the words coming out of my wife's mouth. I was sick and I needed to be treated. Yet my wife didn't care, and she was looking forward to going on a fun trip with her friends. What about her son?
My parents are going to look after him, so it's not a problem.
I asked her why she didn't discuss this with me beforehand.
I've been planning this trip with the girls way before you told me about your hospitalization. Your timing couldn't have been worse.
I didn't hide the fact that I was really annoyed. I was pissed off, but I didn't feel like arguing with her. I reluctantly agreed to her going on her trip. I told her that I would stop by her parents' place to drop off our son. To that, she told me that she didn't want me to go see her parents because she hadn't told them that she would be going overseas for her trip. My wife's parents are hardworking and decent people, so my wife knew that if she told them where she was going, they would try to stop her. So I decided that I would go directly to the hospital without seeing my in-laws.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling better than yesterday, thank you.
Oh, please call me if you need anything.
I couldn't call my wife to ask her to bring me the things that I needed to the hospital, so I lay in bed feeling helpless. I asked some of my friends to come to the hospital to keep me company. They were kind enough to bring me the things that I asked for. One day, one of our neighbors came to visit me in the hospital. I thought you went on that girls' trip with my wife.
Which trip are you referring to? I have no plans to go on a trip with the girls.
That's when I realized that my wife had been lying to me about the trip. She wasn't with the girls. I suspected that she was cheating on me. It made sense. Recently, my wife would go out in the evenings and come home very late. Inside, I was angry about it. But I didn't feel like fighting with her, so I didn't say anything. I didn't think that my wife would go on a trip with her lover while I was in the hospital, though. I was really pissed off, and I came up with a plan for revenge. A few days later, my wife came back from her trip as planned. I waited for her return at the airport so that I could catch her with her lover. I called out to her as soon as she came out of the arrival gate. How was your trip?
Oh, you came to pick me up. How sweet of you.
Get in the car. Let's go.
Why the rush?
I then drove my wife to a law firm. They specialized in divorces. When we got to the office, my lawyer and my wife's parents were waiting for us.
What's going on? Why are my parents here?
Who did you go on that trip with while I was in the hospital? I know that you weren't with the girls, so...
What? I was with the girls. Why would I lie about that?
Then my wife's father became very angry. I don't know who you went on that trip with, but how could you leave your husband alone in the hospital? What were you thinking? The lawyer stepped in and began to talk about what was going to happen next. Your husband would like to file for divorce.
Why?
Do you need to ask why? I was really angry, but I tried to hold it in. I don't trust you, and I can't continue to live under the same roof as you. I was pretty surprised because my wife agreed to divorce me without putting up a fight. I suppose she didn't care because she still had her lover, and she wouldn't be living alone even after the divorce. Could I please ask you to sign these papers?
Yes, I will. I can't force my husband to stay married to me if he no longer wants to.
My wife then signed the divorce papers. The lawyer collected the papers from her and moved on to the next topic. Let me move on to the next topic. Your husband would like to sue you for cheating on him. He asks that you pay him $50,000 as alimony.
But why? I didn't cheat on my husband.
Why was she lying to my face? Was she confident that I wouldn't find any evidence of her infidelity? Or was she simply trying to lie her way out of trouble? I couldn't tell. I then brought out all the evidence that my private investigator had collected on my behalf. Are you still going to deny the fact that you cheated on me?
So you knew? And you hired a private investigator?
I'm sure that your lover's wife is also being informed as we speak. She'll end up leaving her husband too. After hearing that, my wife began to panic. She hadn't predicted that I would sue her or ask her to pay me for the damages. But she had to pay for her crimes. She really hurt me. Besides, she probably used my hard-earned money to go on dates with her lover, so the least she could do was pay me some money.
It was just a fling, so please don't sue me. I don't have that kind of money.
It's too late to ask for my forgiveness.
I only started seeing my lover because you showed no interest in me. I wanted you to love me more.
You're one to talk! I asked you on dates on my days off for work, but you never wanted to go out with me. My wife's parents were becoming very angry as they stood and listened to our conversation. Why did you go on that trip when you knew that your husband wasn't feeling well?
It was reckless for you to take on a lover.
They blamed their daughter for her irresponsible behavior. My wife was in deep distress because she hadn't predicted that things would go this way. My wife's parents promised me that they would make sure that their daughter paid me alimony. After that, the lawyer wrapped up the meeting. Your home has already been sold, so please be ready to move out within 1 week.
What? Why did you do this? I had no idea.
Now that we're getting divorced, there's no need to keep up our house. My wife glanced at her parents to see if they would lend her a hand, but they both shook their heads. They weren't going to let their disgraceful daughter move back after what she did to me. My wife then realized that she was completely on her own, and she went into a panic.
Can't we do something about the $50,000 alimony? It's too high. You used to love me, remember?
I think that amount is more than reasonable. I wasn't going to let my wife lower the amount of alimony. She needed to pay for my mental suffering. My wife pleaded, but her parents told her to stop because she was starting to look more pathetic than she already did. Regarding the custody of your child, your husband would like full custody. Let us know if you oppose to this.
If my husband wants to live with our son, then that's fine by me.
Regarding child support payments.
You're asking me to pay even more?
She was trying to make me look like the bad guy, but I had every right to ask her to chip in with regards to finances regarding the raising of our son. The lawyer explained that when a couple gets a divorce, the parent that doesn't live with the child is obligated to pay child support to the other parent. To my horror, my wife then began to say that she wanted full custody of our child. To that, my wife's parents said that they didn't want their grandson to be raised by such an irresponsible parent, and that they wanted me to have full custody. They persuaded my wife to give up her parental rights.
Why is this happening to me?
It's because you left me in the hospital all alone and went on a trip with your lover. You shouldn't have cheated on me in the first place.
I told you that it's not all my fault.
How do you think I feel? Being betrayed by the mother of my child. It was really hard and lonely for me to battle my sickness on my own. I wanted and needed you by my side, but you left me for your lover. I did not want her to get the wrong idea. I was the victim, not her. My wife didn't love me. She had, she would have taken better care of me when I was hospitalized. Does she even remember that I was hospitalized recently? I spoke to my wife and her parents about the next steps to take. My wife barely spoke because she was scared that her parents would start yelling at her again. Her father couldn't forgive her for leaving me all alone at the hospital. How could she have flown overseas with her lover to go on a romantic trip? My wife's parents apologized to me profusely for their daughter's bad behavior. After my divorce was finalized, I moved to a completely new neighborhood with my son. At first, I was worried about raising him all by myself, but things worked out in the end. My parents and friends came over from time to time to help me with my son. As for my wife, her parents completely cut her off. But they were gracious enough to pay the alimony on her behalf. My wife lives in a rundown apartment and works multiple part-time jobs to pay for her living expenses. And she broke up with her lover in the end because they blamed each other for their affair becoming public. In the end, my wife and I got divorced without her ever knowing what kind of sickness I had. I guess she never cared enough about me to ask. I sometimes worry that my son misses his mother, but for the time being, he seems happy, which makes me feel relieved. I imagine that my ex-wife never really took good care of our son in the first place. If I ever get the opportunity to get married again, I'd like to choose my new partner more wisely. I'm unlucky in love because I always seem to attract the wrong type of women. Something that I'd like to change. My name is Nico, and I'm an ordinary office man blessed with a wonderful wife and daughter. My wife, Olivia, who is a housewife with a part-time job, is the firstborn daughter of the family. And soon after marrying her, I registered into her family. She has a younger sister by the name of Giselle, and she married her academically elite boyfriend soon after graduating college. But in reality, she was an unnaturally tedious ruffian. She was never that person in the past. She was as kind and civilized as her older sister. But ever since she married her husband, utterances that were, in academic terms, extremely biased became much more frequent. In other words, she started to unrightfully judge people based on their education, and frankly, a lot of what she says now can be considered offensive.
What university do you go to, Mr. Nico?
I went to a university in New Jersey.
Oh, is that so? Then I must say you're pretty lucky to have landed a job at your company now.
Oh, maybe I was. It's such a shame how a nice girl like Giselle suddenly became academically prejudiced, if you get what I mean. Perhaps her husband's influence was so strong she started to consider everything and everyone around her based on how elite they were. Every single time her mouth opened, out came the same annoying stuff, like the educational background of someone will become more important in the near future, or that only people who are smart enough can get good jobs, or something like that. Behind the curtains, perhaps she wants to brag about her husband who graduated summa cum laude at a top-level university and is on his way to great success. But it's far from being anything pleasant to listen to. I didn't graduate from a top-level university, nor was it a high-level university for that matter, and neither did Olivia, so we really couldn't say anything back to her.
My husband's getting promoted again, so he's pretty busy these days, but I'm proud of him.
What else can we expect when she stops by but the same stupid bragging bullshit? Additionally, perhaps her husband makes a lot of cash. She always pays us visits wearing expensive brands of clothes, shoes, bags, and jewelry. She pushes all the work of caring for their elderly mother onto Olivia, her sister. It doesn't do shit to help. She was always off gallivanting with her pockets full. On occasion, Olivia tries to talk to her about their mother and her need for attentive care. She replied,
She's living with you guys. You take care of her? Why do I have to help someone out if they aren't close to me anymore?
She was literally less than useless. Olivia's mother, Patricia, my mother-in-law, is 80 years old, and in addition to the wear and tear of her elderly body, her spouts of brain fog also became more apparent recently. Balancing her part-time work with taking care of Patricia proved to be extremely hard for her. Of course, I help her out as much as I can, but even then, it seems like we're short a few helping hands. We truly wanted Giselle to help us out when we needed it. Otherwise, we wouldn't ask her, considering how she is as a person. However, I had another concern. It was about my daughter. Dahlia is in her final year of high school, and she's preparing 24/7 for the SATs. Whenever Giselle visited us, she would always be telling her niece something, and I always assumed the worst. Oh, hell. That Karen's telling Dahlia something completely bonkers, I'll bet. This was a great concern for me. The last thing I wanted from my daughter was untrue information that could potentially change her personality for the worse, just like what happened to Giselle. That could be a source of stress and pressure, I thought. But Dahlia assured me.
It's all right, Dad. She hasn't told me anything too bad, and you can trust me on that.
Oh, good. Seemed like she didn't pay any attention to Giselle's words. She wasn't able to go to her preferred high school because her scores simply weren't high enough, and she's going to her current high school as her second choice. Upon knowing that she failed going to her high school of choice, Giselle stopped by, and as you would expect, she made everything worse.
That's too bad, sweetie. It'll be a hard life for you if you don't graduate from a good high school, you know.
I wanted to slap her in the face, but I was in no position to, because I wasn't very successful both in my studies and in my current job. I tried to make it harder for Giselle to come over, but perhaps she had too much free time. She stopped by quite frequently.
You gotta get the spirit up, sweetie, and study harder, just like my George.
If you're stopping by this often, at least help out with taking care of your own mother. We don't need all this goddamn useless bragging, is what I screamed at her in my mind, but not out loud. Now, I'm a son-in-law taken into their family, and thus my say in the family is pretty low on the list of priorities. I was ashamed of how powerless I was against such stupidity. Such was life, when one day we heard that Dahlia passed a good university. Congratulations, darling! I'm so proud of you! You did your best! As a family, we celebrated hugely for her accomplishment, and because of her past failures regarding high school, we were all the happier that she could pass her first choice for university. But then Giselle showed up. Now, how in the world did she get the memo?
Oh, Dahlia, dear, congratulations.
Thanks.
It's her big day, goddammit! Why are you gonna ruin that too? But as you could probably guess by now, I wouldn't dare say such things and let her inside the house. Although we didn't plan for it, nor was she invited to stay for dinner, she did. All things considered, it seemed like George was away on business for a while, and Giselle started to drop in unannounced partly because she was after a good meal.
That's amazing. You got into your university of choice.
Well, I guess.
As usual, she started to ramble on and on and on about academia and whatnot. Please, I'm begging you, stop talking about this. Dahlia's finally free from such hard work and she's achieved something incredible. Just stop, please. I try to convey these thoughts to her by kindly saying, well now, her exams are all finished and she got into a good school. So maybe we can lay off the academia talk tonight.
No way. We have to think about her future. That's exactly the kind of attitude that'll never get you beyond an ordinary office man.
Damn, that hurt more than I thought it would. I couldn't say anything more afterwards. I mean, it's true that because I wasn't too hard working that I didn't do amazing in my studies and that I don't have a high status job. I just want my girls to be happy. Did Giselle's words have a hint of logic in them? Could it be that I'm in the wrong here? My mind was hitting DEFCON 4 at this point. But then Dahlia, who hadn't been speaking much until then, opened her mouth and said,
Auntie, where did Uncle George study university and faculty?
George? It's a famous place, so you probably know it actually. He graduated from the Faculty of Economics at Berkeley. If only you could go to such a high-ranked place too, honey. Such a shame.
Oh, is that so?
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I applied for that as my second choice, so I know it's pretty prestigious.
Huh?
Dahlia just said that as though it wasn't of any importance as she calmly ate her dinner. I could literally see the loading screen of Windows 7 hovering over Giselle's head as she was frozen for a couple seconds. But then her tone took an aggressive turn and replied,
Huh? Then which university are you able to pass,
It isn't anything too good. Stanford.
What?
The truth was that Dahlia passed a university that was always competing for first place in ranking in the country. We knew it'd be an even bigger pain, so we never provided any details on Dahlia's studies, so she never even had a clue where she was probably going. Giselle froze again, and Dahlia dogpiled the first blow with a more shocking information.
And also, which university did you go to, Auntie?
Who, me?
Yes, you, Auntie. I'll bet it's a pretty prestigious place, too, especially since you said so many questionable things to my dad.
Lo and behold, Giselle never answered. Yep, her husband George going to a high-ranked university was indeed the truth, but Giselle herself had gone to a community college.
And another thing, Auntie, I've always wondered why you never had any children.
Well, darling, George is really busy these days, and right now I don't think it's the time to have children just yet.
Hang on, really? It's said that the more academically elite someone is, the more probable it is they're going to cheat in their relationship.
That's nonsense. My husband would never dream of doing such things.
Well, I don't have much of a good education either, so I can't say much about other people, but I don't think academia decides everything, you know? I think anyone can cheat, no matter how smart they are. It would be so funny if he actually was with someone else right now on this business trip of his, LOL.
As I watched Dahlia's words turn Giselle into the biggest, palest piece of mozzarella I'd ever seen, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. Seemed I wasn't alone, too. Olivia sat next to me with a wide smile on her face. Since then, Giselle never talked much about academia anymore. Turns out that she had been talking smack to Dahlia about her parents' far from elite educational backgrounds, and Dahlia had resented her for that for quite some time. She did her absolute damnedest in her studies to shut Giselle up about the subject for good, and got into a famous university known for being at the top of the world. But what shocked us all the most was about George, Giselle's husband. Just as Dahlia had jokingly predicted, he really was cheating on his wife.
I'm never gonna break up with you.
Seems like he was making business trips as excuses to see this other woman. George is set on divorcing Giselle, but she adamantly refuses to sign the divorce file. So now they're in divorce mediation. My theory is, if Giselle loses George, she loses everything. Her money, her house, her belongings. And that's why she's holding on to him so tightly. And eventually, her visits dwindled away. Perhaps the legal mediation is keeping her busy all the time. See me complaining, though? Dahlia, how did you know George was cheating on Giselle?
I didn't, Dad. I just said it as a way of getting back at her because I resented her for being who she was.
Talia never dreamed her theory was actually right, and when she heard that he really was cheating on her, she was really surprised. Just as she said, education doesn't decide a human being. There are many people in society who are brilliant individuals, but who never had an education of very high levels. On the contrary, there are also people who had an elite education at prestigious schools, but who never excel in their jobs and eventually make huge mistakes, costing them so much in their lives. It's wrong to judge a human being based on their education background, plain and simple. What counts is dedication, effort, and persistence, and that's what everyone must acknowledge when talking about jobs and academia.
My name is Lisa. Up until 2 months ago, I was living with my husband Kevin and our 8-year-old daughter, Luna. But because of something that happened 6 months ago, I'm currently living on my own. A certain incident leading to the separation of my husband and my daughter took place. My husband Kevin was demotivated at work, and because of this, he wasn't earning that much. But in spite of this, he liked to spend money. And in order to pay our bills, I had to work full-time. Don't you have to work today? You're gonna be late if you don't start getting ready soon.
I'm really tired from being busy yesterday, so I'm gonna take the day off today.
Again? You said the same thing last week and took a day off. Aren't you worried about getting demoted or having your salary reduced?
My salary gets reduced. You can work more to cover for me. It's not a big deal. I don't like working anyway.
I already work full-time. It's not possible for me to take on any more work than I already do.
Then get a second job that allows you to work at night.
You're being unreasonable.
I recently bought a $1,000 watch with your credit card. I need you to work hard so that you can pay for it when the bill arrives next month.
And a $1,000 watch? This is the first time that I'm hearing about this.
Why do I need to let you know each time I go shopping? Cut me some slack.
$1,000 is a lot of money. It's not something I can pay easily.
Shut up! This conversation is over. I'm tired. I'm going back to bed.
And then he punched me, hard. My husband has a short temper, and he gets really angry if I put him on the spot. If I made him angry, he would become violent with me and get back at me. I couldn't put up with his behavior, and there was one time that I left the house with our daughter Luna. But then Kevin found out about our hiding place and forced us to go home with him. After that, Kevin kept a close watch on us both so that we wouldn't be able to escape once again. I was trapped.
Where are you going this late at night?
You asked me to get a second job, so that's what I'm doing. I need to work more to pay our bills.
You'd better not be using this job as an excuse to run away again.
You know that I would never leave Luna here by herself.
You're never gonna get away from me. I need you to earn money so that I can go on living the life the way I do. If you do try to run away, I'll find you and make sure that you come back to me.
I was so scared of Kevin's words and his violent behavior that I had no choice but to obey him, even if his demands were ridiculous. My life with Kevin was very hard, and there were times when I wanted to give up, but I had my beautiful daughter, Luna. She was the thing that kept me going. She was my only hope. My parents passed away when I was young, so I grew up in an orphanage, and I didn't have any close relatives that I could rely on. I had a very lonely childhood. So I was really set on getting married and creating a happy life with my family. I met Kevin through a mutual friend. He hit on me aggressively, and we started dating. When we had just started dating, he was really sweet to me. I did always wonder why he didn't last very long at any workplace, but I tried not to let it bother me. I was also naive enough to think that I could work too, and we could still be happy. After a year of being married, I became pregnant. I was happy to have a child that was related by blood to me since I had lost my parents at a young age. I promised to myself and my baby that I would take good care of her for the rest of my life. After having Luna, I quit my job to take care of her. This is when Kevin's attitude toward me changed drastically. Before Luna was born, Kevin was a kind husband, but now he was mean and grumpy. He was always irritated and would take it out on me through violent words and actions. I wondered if the pressure of feeling like he had to provide for me and Luna was too much for Kevin. I decided to work again when Luna turned 1 year old. I didn't want to put a strain on our marriage. My days were spent at work and then caring for Luna as soon as I got home. I was exhausted. My body was tired from being overworked, but I loved caring for Luna. She was the thing that kept me strong. I adored her so much. When Luna began attending elementary school, my husband Kevin ordered me to quit my job. I thought that this was strange because he was always pressuring me to make more money. I asked him why he wanted me to quit my job, but he wouldn't tell me the reason. He was very angry for some reason. I asked him how we could get by if I stopped working altogether, but he told me that it wasn't my problem. I didn't want him to take it out on me anymore, so I did as he told me to and quit my job. This was what happened 6 months ago. I was still anxious about the sudden change in circumstances, but I spent most of my time at home after quitting my job. Luna was happy to see me home more often, and I was happy to be able to spend more time with her.
Mom, I'm home. I had a fantastic day at school today.
I'm glad to know that you had a wonderful day, honey. Please go wash your hands so that we can have a snack together.
Mom, will you be home from now on?
I'm not sure. It depends on what your dad wants.
I like having you at home. I feel happier when you're here. Please don't go back to work.
We'll see. Now go wash your hands.
Okay.
After I quit my job, my husband Kevin kept his distance. He was rarely home. There were times he didn't come home at all, and I suspected he had a lover.
It seems that Dad is not coming home tonight either.
Yes, it seems so.
Mom, to be honest, I don't really like Dad. I'm so happy when he's not home.
Why do you say that?
Because he's mean to you.
I'm sorry to worry you like that. I'm fine, so there's no need for you to worry about me.
Remember when we moved out of this house together?
It's amazing that you still remember that.
I had a lot of fun when it was just the two of us. I'd prefer it if it were just us two.
Luna, I wish there were something I could do about my marriage to Kevin. It pained me to know Luna was bothered by our unhealthy marriage. Deep down, I wanted to divorce Kevin and live a happy and peaceful life with Luna. You're home.
I'm leaving the house again. By the way, can you loan me $200?
I don't have any money to give you. I quit my job, remember?
Well, how about your savings then?
You want me to take money from my savings?
Well, I need the money, so it's the least that you could do.
But that money is Luna's for education.
I don't care. I demand that you go withdraw that money right now.
Okay. Stop hitting me then.
Don't bully Mom! You're hurting her!
You're a child. Don't talk back to me!
Stop it! Don't hurt Luna. That is the one thing I won't allow.
If you want me to listen, do as I say!
Luna, let's go. After taking $200 from me, Kevin left the house again, but I didn't say anything to him. I didn't want him to take it out on Luna. And I knew that even if he didn't take it out on Luna, he would get violent with me if I talked back to him. After that, Kevin didn't come home for days, and Luna and I were having a nice time together at home. We felt free and not scared for the first time in a long time. We hoped that this would last forever, but we weren't so lucky. After some time, Kevin came back home. This time, he was not alone. He had a young woman by his side. I knew right away that this woman was my husband's lover. Kevin, who is this?
Her name is Sarah. We're getting married, and we'd like for you to move out now.
Now? I don't have a job, so how am I supposed to look for a new place to live on such short notice? And I want to be close to Luna's school. I wasn't surprised that Kevin had a lover because I suspected it, but I did not expect him to ask me to move out so suddenly. To that, I panicked. On top of that, what Kevin said to me next shocked me even more.
Luna will be going to school from this house, so there's no need for you to get involved.
What do you mean by that?
We're gonna live with Luna. and Sarah and I will take care of her from now on.
I don't want to be separated from Mom.
Shut up, you little brat! Don't be selfish!
Please don't take Luna away from me. I won't ask for anything else.
How are you gonna take care of her without a job? Besides, the court is not gonna allow you custody if you can't support her financially.
That's why you forced me to quit my job? You're a monster! You did this so you could take Luna away from me.
I don't care what you think about me. Just get out of my house! Leave now!
Kevin grabbed me by the hair and forced me out of the house. And after that, I wasn't allowed back into the house ever again. It didn't take long for me to figure out that Kevin only wanted custody of Luna so he could get me to pay him for child support. Kevin must have figured out that by keeping Luna by his side, he could get child support payments. That's why he wanted me to quit my job and also kick me out of the house. After being kicked out of the house, I had no choice but to stay in a nearby hotel. I had some savings at the time that I was working, which I had kept hidden from Kevin. So I was able to get by until I found a new job and a new place to live. I went to my former boss of the company that I used to work for and explained my current situation to him. It seemed that they were short-staffed, so my former boss asked me to resume work as a full-time employee right away. Kevin somehow found out about my employment situation and told me that if I paid him some money, he would allow me to communicate with Luna over video. I hadn't been able to see Luna since I was kicked out, so I was willing to pay him the money to have some time to talk to Luna. I missed her so much. I agreed to pay Kevin $500 a month for some regular video calls with Luna. He took Luna away from me because I was unemployed, but the situation had now changed. I had hoped that by going to court, I could regain custody of Luna. However, it took me longer than expected to save up the money that I would need to go to court. A month passed, and a day after I had sent some money to Kevin, I requested him to allow me to see Luna in person. But for some reason, Kevin was very reluctant to say yes to my request. But I wouldn't give up, and I kept on asking him. In the end, he agreed to allow me to talk to Luna over video. Today was the first time I was going to speak to Luna since the day I was kicked out of the house. Luna!
Mom, I miss you so much.
I'm so sorry that so much time has passed since the last time we spoke. I couldn't stop crying when I saw Luna's face.
Mom, please don't cry. Are you okay? I hope that you're not lonely without me.
I miss you so much. Enough about me. How are you? How is your school?
Yeah, I'm alright.
We were able to catch up for around 20 minutes, but Kevin stood in the back the entire time and we didn't have any privacy. I felt like Luna had lost some weight since the last time I was with her. I was concerned about whether or not Kevin was feeding her, allowing her to bathe, or giving her time to do homework. I wanted to ask Luna all of this, but I couldn't ask her these things when Kevin was around. I didn't want him to lose his temper in front of Luna. I also didn't want him to give any reasons to forbid me from talking to Luna over video. It had been a month since I was kicked out of the house, and looking at Luna, I was worried that she wasn't being taken care of properly. I decided to go to her school to check and see if Luna was doing okay. But I wasn't able to see her at school. Another month had passed, and I made my second payment to Kevin. The following day, I was looking forward to my second video call with Luna. I couldn't wait to see her again. Luna then appeared on the screen. I was speechless when I saw Luna, though. She had gotten even thinner, and she looked really pale. Luna, are you okay?
Mom, I'm doing well.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. You don't need to worry about me.
It looked like Luna was forcing herself to smile to comfort me. I was heartbroken when I saw her like this, and I was mad at myself for not being able to do anything about this horrible situation. During our call, I got a glimpse of Luna's arms a couple of times, and they looked bruised. I was in a state of shock and panic. Luna, what happened to your arms? Who did this to you? Kevin then appeared on the screen.
Don't say anything to upset your mother!
I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't say anything.
Lisa, the bruises on Luna's arms are bruises she got when she fell down. It has nothing to do with anyone else. You hear me?
Well, could you please take her to the hospital? They look really painful.
You're no longer a part of this family, so don't tell me what to do. If you start making ridiculous demands, I won't allow you to speak to Luna over video anymore.
Wait, don't say that. We need to talk. Kevin then ended the video call abruptly, and I didn't hear from him again. I was really worried about Luna, so I called the Child Consultation Center right away. I asked them to rescue her from her terrible father and waited for them to get back to me. 3 days later, the Child Consultation Center got back to me, and the person on the phone told me that Luna was with her grandmother and that I wouldn't be allowed to visit her. Kevin didn't get along with his parents, and they hadn't been in touch in many years, so I didn't see why the Child Consultation Center got in touch with them. I wasn't even sure if this was what really took place. If Luna was still not safe, I needed to think of a way to rescue her. I was very anxious about the current situation, and I decided to take some time off work to find evidence of child abuse so that Luna could come back and live with me. Somebody then rang my doorbell. When I checked my monitor, I saw a man that I had seen before. I let him inside. The man was acting very nervous.
I'm sorry for the sudden intrusion. Are you Luna's mother?
Yes, I am.
I'm Luna's teacher at school.
Did something happen to Luna at school?
Luna hasn't been to school in over 2 months now, so we've been teaching her online on a regular basis. When I tried to get in touch with her the other day and see how she was doing, she told me that she was still not well enough to come to school. So we decided to have another online class together. When I saw Luna on the screen, I saw her making some gestures with her hands. It seemed unnatural, so I took a closer look. Then I realized Luna was sending me hand signals asking me to help her.
Hand signals?
Yes, I taught my students some hand signals a while back, and it seems that Luna remembered them. The signal she was sending me was a sign for help.
We need to go help Luna right away. Her father is a monster, and we don't know what he'd do to her.
I just went over to her house, but no one answered the door. Do you happen to have the key to that house?
My husband took my keys from me when he kicked me out of the house.
I see. Then I think we have no choice but to notify the police. I'm not sure it'll be enough, but I hope that if I tell them about the hand signals that Luna sent me, they'll do something to help her.
Please, hold on. I just remembered that we kept a spare key underneath a flower pot in our front yard. It might still be there.
It's worth trying. Let's go over to the house now and check.
Luna's teacher and I made our way quickly to Kevin's house. Once we got there, we made sure that Kevin wouldn't realize we were there. We then turned over the flower pot quietly to retrieve the spare key. We then carefully opened the door to the house and saw that there were 3 pairs of shoes in the entrance. I was now certain that Luna was home, and I made my way quickly to the living room. When I opened the door to the living room, I saw Kevin and Sarah sitting on the sofa, and Kevin was chain smoking, so the room reeked of cigarettes. Where's Luna?
What are you doing here?
Luna, can you hear me? If you can, please say something.
Luna, where are you?
Luna heard my voice, as well as the voice of her teacher, and she replied to us weakly.
I'm right here. Help me.
She's in the bedroom.
Don't go in there!
Kevin grabbed my hair so that I wouldn't be able to enter the bedroom. He then pushed me down violently onto the floor.
Who gave you permission to go into the bedroom? I can have you 2 arrested for trespassing! Are you alright?
This is our home. How dare you 2 come in here uninvited? Please leave right away.
I'm not leaving without Luna. Please let me see her.
You're unbelievable! I have custody over Luna now, remember?
What are these 2 doing here? Get them out of here!
I'm on it!
Kevin was trying to force me to leave the house, but I did everything in my power to stop him. As we were fighting, the police entered the house.
We're here to see your daughter. Tell us where she is. Who called the police? I'm gonna kill them! I called them. How dare you! My daughter isn't home. She's staying with her grandmother. I heard her voice coming from the bedroom. She asked us to help her.
Please check the bedroom. She should be there.
Will do. Don't go in there!
Kevin began to panic and started punching the police officers. One of the police officers pinned Kevin down to the floor, and the other two made their way to the bedroom. Inside the bedroom was a pale and thin Luna. Luna!
Mom!
I hugged Luna tightly. The police officers asked to see if there were any bruises on Luna's body. I showed the police officer the bruises on Luna's arms. Luna pulled up her shirt to reveal more bruises on her stomach and upper thighs.
I had nothing to do with those bruises. She fell and got them.
He's telling the truth. We didn't hurt her. Please believe us.
Thank you for taking the courage to show us your bruises. This must be very painful for you.
As soon as she realized that she was now safe, Luna looked at ease.
It's clear from Luna's bruises that she's been abused by her father. We will be questioning Luna's father and grandmother to gather the necessary information. And I think we should take Luna to the hospital just in case to make sure that she is all right.
Yes, that sounds good. Thank you for your help, officer. Luna's teacher and I went to the hospital with Luna. We waited anxiously in the waiting room. While we were waiting, Luna's teacher told me what had happened at school. After I'd been kicked out of the house, Kevin allowed Luna to go to school for several days, but her teacher was concerned because Luna looked pale and sad and she wasn't her usual self. Out of concern, Luna's teacher called Kevin to ask if Luna was all right. Kevin told him that there was nothing to be concerned about, but the following day, Luna stopped coming to school. Kevin told Luna's teacher that Luna was taking time off of school because one of her classmates had been bullying her. Kevin pretended to be a concerned parent when he was the one making Luna's life hell. How did you figure out that Luna and I were no longer living together?
When I began conducting online classes with Luna, I was very concerned by how unhappy she looked. I asked her classmates if they knew anything.
So Luna talked to her friends about what she was going through?
It seems that she told her best friend that you had left the house and how unhappy she was after that.
I see. I had no idea. 30 minutes after, the doctor called us into the examination room. When I went into the examination room, I saw that the police officer was there too. I examined Luna, and I can say that she has been the victim of your husband's abuse for quite some time. I was speechless. It seems that your husband hadn't been feeding her properly, and she's lost a lot of weight as a result. Luna, I'm so sorry.
We've been speaking to your husband and his mother, and we believe that his arrest is imminent.
So does this mean I get to live with Luna again?
Yes, that's right. Please make sure that you give her the support that she needs to heal from what she's gone through.
Yes, I will. I'm so happy to have her back.
Do I get to live with my mom again?
Yes, and we won't be separated ever again.
I'm so happy. I missed you so much.
My husband and his lover were arrested for child abuse. Luna gave her statement to the police. At first, she was nervous, but after a while, she began to tell us what Kevin and his lover did to her. We found out that Kevin and his lover were violent with Luna on a daily basis, and they forbid her from seeing anyone so that their crimes wouldn't come to light. Because Luna was kept locked up in the house, her health deteriorated. She wasn't allowed to go to school, so the only things that she looked forward to were the video calls with me. After hearing about all the horrific things that Luna went through, I was pained and devastated. But I knew that I had to stay strong and positive for Luna. I had to protect her at all costs. I had to move on. After Luna was back home with me, I began working full-time again. I worked very hard. I did it for Luna. When Luna saw me working hard and happy at work, she became happy and cheerful too. Although her heart would take longer to heal, the bruises on Luna's body disappeared. I made nourishing meals for Luna, and she slowly became healthy again. 2 weeks after my husband's arrest, Luna had recovered enough to go back to school. I regained custody of Luna, and Luna and I were elated to be living together again. Now that Kevin was gone, we both felt safe and relaxed.
I'm off to school now. What are we having for dinner tonight?
I'm gonna make us some steaks. Have a great day at school.
Have a nice day at work.
Thank you. Be safe. News about the arrest of Kevin and his lover spread fast. Both of their families cut them off, so I don't think they'll have it easy even after they get out of jail. And there's no way that I'd forgive them for what they did to Luna, so I intend on suing them. I want Kevin to pay for what he's done to me and Luna up until now. I had a bad experience with Kevin, but I'm stronger now, and I'll do anything to protect Luna. Now that it's just the two of us, we're so happy, something that was hard to imagine when we were still living with Kevin. No matter what the future holds for us, I promised myself that I would continue to be happy with Luna.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.